Thursday, December 11th, I'm Jim Check. With me, Iain Burns, the ailing Iain Burns. He's going to try and tough it out, but his house has been hit with the bug. So he's going to try and tough it out, though. And so we can have the really big show. Just like a Marine, he's going to tough it out, right? Pain is weakness leaving the body.
Just like one of our MPs, I'm just gonna keep working until I drop.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we'd use that as an example, but lots going on, though. World prepares for war, and we're not even being clickbaity about that. World prepares for war. It's all about energy. Say that over and over again. Liberals not worried about Kuzma, but Mexico thinks differently. Liberals spend like drunken sailors while Canadians go without. Liberal policies that benefit the few at the expense of the many. We've seen that many times. More bad economic news for families in Canada. Not only is it big bonus time in Ottawa, it's time for vacay. More mud like clarity from Carney. Stellantis scandal just gets bigger. And CBC? And the gun grab is a clown show and a huge waste of money. Will Canada survive what the Liberals and the NDP have done with it? And Polyev set to face a review. EB is the conductor of a derailed train we call BC. Canada's starting to merge in BC. War drums beat around the world, and naval blockade sees seizure. All that and a lot more in the really big show. We're going to try and go fast so that we can get through this and keep Iain at the desk there going away. So let's get right into it. We're going to play this small clip here from Eric Schmidt, former Google guy. He's just reinforcing what we say all the time. It's all about energy, just because that is the theme. We'll just play a small clip from it. Actually, we won't play the clip. I'll just tell you what he says, just in the interest of it. He says that the United States is about 92 gigawatts short of energy. And a gigawatt is basically what a nuclear power plant, a small modular reactor, puts out. So, and China, we've shown that chart over and over again. China way ahead in energy, and the Americans way ahead in chips and way ahead in hardware and stuff like that. But that's the Americans behind in energy, and China behind in the hardware. So this race is on. Canada has tons of energy that the Americans will want and need. We have a government in place that continues to suppress our energy. So something in that equation needs to break.
Yeah, we've got a lot of energy that we're not willing to use, pretty much, isn't it? I was reading about the Three Gorges Dam, which people have probably heard of. I think it's still the biggest dam in the world, isn't it? Yeah. That's 22.5 gigawatts, just that one dam. And then in terms of solar, they're just chucking out dozens of gigawatts, aren't they? Almost like every year. They really do see this as a race, don't they? While you say 1 gigawatt's like a nuclear power plant. Yeah, and a nuclear power plant takes how long to plan, to build, to,
15 years. In Canada, anyway, they're going to fast track 8 of them in the United States with Cameco and Brookfield, which is through Westinghouse. They jointly own that. But Canada doesn't even have any on the books other than the one that's going up in Ontario there right now that's about to be commissioned. So, I mean, we're miles away from getting stuff done, and we can't even get a pipeline. Anyway.
And the Chinese. Imagine if the Chinese had the kind of oil and natural gas that Canada has, or even the US has. They would just exploit that.
You know what they would have?
To the final drop.
You know what they would have in Canada? Cities like Shenzhen. Am I saying that right? Shenzhen. That city that was
Shenzhen.
Yeah. The city that was basically a farm community 40 years ago that is one of the technology marvels of the world right now. Go take a look at pictures of that. It's absolutely crazy. That's what we would have in Canada. We don't even have a proper highway across Canada, the Trans-Canada Highway, like a 4-lane highway. But Canada did recorded a trade surplus for the first time since January. There's some good news as exports rebounded sharply and imports declined. And that's in September, we had a 4.6% increase, while imports fell 1.7%. But a lot of that driven by metals, gold. Total exports jumped by 6.3% amid increases across product categories, though metal and non-metallic mineral properties posted the largest increase. Imagine that, Canada, rich in resources, and that's where we're getting our increase there. A lot of that coming through that. Exports to other countries other than the U.S. rose 11% in September, led by gold to Switzerland. Imagine that, gold to Switzerland. Who stockpiles gold in Switzerland? Almost everybody. Oil to Germany, oil and aircraft to Singapore. That's what we have to sell, Canada. Energy and resources. Imagine that.
How is that? My immediate question is how is that oil getting to Germany? I guess it's gone through the Panama Canal. What a schlep, when you could just have a pipeline to the St. Lawrence. But obviously there's another thing that we don't have, an oil pipeline to the east of Canada. And then another thing that we don't have, sorry, you talked about energy, is an interconnected grid. Instead, various parts of this country are connected to various parts of the United States rather than connected to itself.
Yeah, and we're still selling lots of goods to the United States, though, too, right? So we still have a trade surplus with them. So there you go.
Take that, Donald.
That's some good news. Ottawa sees no threat to the Kuzma deal, though. Liberals don't think Trump will kill Kuzma, but Mexicans aren't taking any chances. The Liberal U.S. Trade Minister, Dominic LeBlanc, said he doesn't believe the Americans are planning to abandon the USMCA trade deal between the two countries and Mexico. It comes amid plenty of grumbles from the Trump administration. But some of his lieutenants attacking Mexico and Canada for supposedly selling Chinese goods into the U.S. by exploiting the deal. Responding to these attacks, Mexico has revealed a new raft of tariffs on Chinese products. So Mexico preparing against that. Some of them as high as 50%. LeBlanc, meanwhile, said he intends to negotiate with the U.S. calmly, without emotion, without panic. How about quickly? How about with speed?
Well, they're always very generous with their time with the Canadian press, and this is Dominic LeBlanc's end of year interview. They all tend to do that. I'm sure Carney's going to do one soon. But he does go into that and he says, like, I understand, look, people are frustrated. You want this to go quicker. And then he kind of just says, trust me, bro. That's kind of his position. It's like, just trust me. We've got this. We'll figure this out. But we look at Mexico, and the Mexicans are changing all kinds of things like this, introducing this new tariff regime. That's an almost instantaneous response to the Americans. It was only this week, I think, wasn't it, that the Americans started to complain about, they've complained about it for a long time, but with particular vociferousness, they started to talk about how both Canada and Mexico are taking Chinese goods, doing either a little bit of work or sometimes nothing with them, and then putting them into the US market using CUSMA. And that's infuriating them. And they're saying, what's the point of a trade deal if you do this? And the Mexicans are like, right away, That's the kind of thing, and we've learned, haven't we? That's the kind of thing that really impresses Donald Trump. He likes to see that. He likes to see the headlines, doesn't he? So,
well, I have a friend that assembles bikes. He gets all the parts from China, assembles the bikes, put a Made in Canada sticker on it, and sells it all around the world. Brilliant.
Been going on for ages, hasn't it? Yeah. And it's not just China, is it? It's also Vietnam, which was because China was being tariffed. So a lot of it was the Chinese companies were going to Vietnam, making it in Vietnam, and then shipping it to America. Then they put tariffs on Vietnam. So it was from China to Vietnam to Mexico or Canada, then to the US. So there's all this there are all of these loopholes, and obviously the Americans are very unimpressed.
Like we said in our big headline is the world prepares for war, and we're going to have that theme throughout. And Canada as well, trying to beef up its 300,000 citizen soldiers. Remember when they were trying to draft in the federal workers, trying to put in the Coast Guard and all that? We got a little clip here from the CBC on leaked documents.
Obtained by CBC News reveal a proposal for a massive new mobilization by Canada's military. They show the Department of National Defence is making preparations to take on hundreds of thousands of reservists and citizen soldiers.
But what we're focusing on in these documents is the 300,000 supplemental reserve that the military would like to create. So these are lightly trained citizen soldiers, for want of a better description. And what these documents do is they paint a picture of how difficult the task is going to be. I spoke with one expert who said this is basically the tallest order the Canadian military has received since the end of the Cold War, because they are looking to buy uniforms, they're looking to buy weapons, they're looking to buy equipment. And where's all of this going to come from when you have supply chains that are already strained and the Canadian military is having trouble doing recruiting and getting people into just the regular and the permanent reserve forces?
That's good. We have about 55,000 soldiers. Which our full complement was supposed to be 75,000, and we even tried to get immigrants to join, and we couldn't do that. And the Auditor General there toured the facilities, 7 of 14 places she toured. Unsafe drinking water, toilets that don't work, deteriorating walls, unfit living conditions, and we wonder why nobody wants to join. Plus the pay. You know, they were basically under $40,000 a year. They got a 20% raise, which is what, $2 an hour. And an average bureaucrat makes $136,000. Huh? Go figure, eh? And don't forget the equipment, the bad equipment, right? Old jets, diesel subs from the 90s, used subs that we bought in the 90s, and jets that, how many jets did they say they could muster in the last little while? Was it like 7 or something like that?
Eight jets and 3 frigates.
3 frigates.
Not much of a military, that, is it? But you talk about immigrants, and we've talked about this issue a few times, and I've never mentioned, but I actually know somebody from the British Army, a British chap, obviously an Englishman, who was kind of headhunted, I guess, by the Canadian military, and he's now, they fast-tracked his permanent residency and his citizenship, and he's now a major, I believe, in the Canadian forces. And he, by no means is he the only one. There are some others. So it's certainly it's been partially successful, at least, bringing in immigrants. But that does kind of tell you something when you've got obviously England and Canada, Britain and Canada. That's a very intimate relationship, isn't it? It's not quite the same as being properly foreign. But it's quite interesting, isn't it, that the Canadian military is at least in part composed of people who really aren't Canadian, other than on paper.
Yeah, and we're going to go through this a lot here, and it's this NATO, like a lot of people talking more. The war drums are beating for sure. We're going to show you a lot of stories that relate to this. I guarantee you we didn't put that up as a clickbait headline as the world prepares for war, as this Ukraine deal seems to be falling apart. This is the really big show. We have the best undiscovered news commentary show in Canada by far. And we're going to show you some stuff, fraud, corruption, scams, scandals. And then we're going to check the CBC website to see how much of that they covered today. And I guarantee you, if you watch this show over the CBC, you're going to be way more informed than the CBC. You're not going to be fed a narrative. Here's one of those. Here's some fraud, waste, corruption, whatever you want to call it. Most federal agencies spent more, not less. This is after they were given a travel directive to spend less money on travel last year. Well, Cabinet claimed to save taxpayers' money. New records show then Finance Minister Chrystia Free with the Cash Freeland promised a 15% reduction in travel spending as proof of government being fiscally responsible. Well, let's throw that one out the window. Who cares, right? Isn't that how you do it? Who cares? Cabinet inquiry.
You got to do the hand gesture.
Who cares? Cabinet inquiry of Ministry tabled in Commons disclosed 105 departments and agencies impacted by the travel director, fewer than half, actually cut their spending. Taxpayers charged for government travel overall were more than $1.3 billion last year. Nice for the cabinets. Figures were requested by the Conservative MP, Vincent Ho, who asked, with regard to government expenditure on travel, hospitality, and conferences, what was the total spent? And hard to get this information too, right? Even Greg Fergus, the Speaker of the House for 1 year, just for him, $276,000. Who cares? Minister Freeland in her 2023 budget pledged to cut expenses. These savings will come from government operations, she told the reporters. Records show the Privy Council ignored the directive and increased its travel budget by 17% to $5.5 million. In 2023, the government of Canada tabled a federal budget that called for the public service to refocus spending to continue to serve Canadians effectively. I want you to know that a lot of these numbers come out later because the Liberals won't release them right away. Like, it takes forever. Like, we've asked for the spend on Facebook, because they gave it to us at first, and then we'd embarrass them. They spent $5.5 million in 3 months. And then we asked for it again. They said, oh, no, we can't give you that till 2026. Managers of the Department of Foreign Affairs disclosed a 42% increase. That's Melanie Jolie's department there. travel of $109 million. Jolie, like, you have to wonder what Jolie.
I love this quote, the quote from them.
Go ahead. I'll let you do it.
The department is not in a position to share spending reduction measures. I love that in the third person as well. So His Majesty is not in a position to reveal that information.
Others claim to follow the directive even as they ignored it. The Copyright Board doubled travel expenses to $30,000, but told Parliament the board is applying a targeted approach by travel, prioritizing only essential trips. Everything is essential, I guess. The Veterans Review and Appeal Board said it lowered travel costs by conducting more hearings online, although it increased spending by 66%. So you say one thing, do another. Who's heard that before? So they spent $644,000 last year. That's on travel. Nice.
And I'm sure it was rather luxurious travel. I'm sure it wasn't
And then when,
sitting in an economy seat.
And this is why they don't like the PBO's office, because, when Chrystia Friedland said they're going to cut spending. The budget office ridiculed the announcement at the time. That was Yves Giroux in a 2023 testimony at the Senate National Plan, so he's heard all that before. While Canadians can't look at beef as a luxury, this group here in the photo ops spend like drunken sailors. Welcome to Canada.
That's what it costs to have that sort of individual working in the public service, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to come cheap, is it?
Yeah. And then if we have our friend Lightning Rod show up, he's going to tell us we're being biased. These are just the numbers. These are just the numbers. Just the stats. Just the facts, Jack. The food professor interviewed on Global there about what's coming up for food prices. He's getting a big name here in Canada on food. Let's listen to what he has to say. He says we need to scrap the supply management agreement too, so consumers can get some relief.
For consumers. Joining me now is Sylvain Charlebois, Director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, also known as the Food Professor. Sylvain, good morning and welcome back to the show.
Good morning.
I'm still waiting for the day you come on and tell us our grocery bill is going down, but today is not that day. Tell us what the report tells us about food prices in 2026.
Yes. So first of all, don't shoot the messenger. We're 25 co-authors on this. So I am the lead author, and every year we forecast food prices for the next year using AI and machine learning. And unfortunately, we got some bad news from our model this year. Looking at meat prices are likely going to push food inflation higher in 2026. Chicken, beef, pork, all three components are likely to be more expensive. Also, pantry goods. We don't talk much about, the center of the store, but dry pasta, sauces, nuts, coffee, these kinds of ingredients will likely become more expensive in 2026.
That's good. You can go watch the whole interview if you'd like, but yeah, we've said this before. They're in Canada, we can look for increases in food prices. If they take out that supply management agreement, in the CUSMA deal, we will see some relief on some of the staples, dairy, eggs, poultry, and then we'll give access to.
Yeah, because we would be able to get that stuff from countries that aren't experiencing drought and all the other things that are putting beef prices up. We could then go to town on that stuff, and as you say, dairy and all the rest of it. But it would upset certain very strong voting blocs, particularly in the beautiful province of Quebec.
Yes, and America right now only gets access to about 5% of the market, and same thing goes for English cheese and that. So if you want better cheese,
I mean, all over the place. New Zealand, that's another one, isn't it? Where there's often, the Kiwis, New Zealand, that's like their main industry, agriculture, so they get very miffed about that. They get upset with a lot of countries, but Canada's one of them. I would just say about Sylvain Charlebois, the food professor, who is really kind of, as far as I'm aware, he's unique in the economic and sort of intellectual and media landscape in Canada. He's kind of like a supreme authority on this sort of thing. But every time his name is mentioned in the House of Commons by the Conservative Party, usually when the Conservative Party want to talk about high grocery prices as a way to attack the Liberal Party. Whenever his name is mentioned, food professor, or even just his name, Professor Sylvan, the Liberal benches boo audibly.
Yeah.
They go, ugh, and they groan as well, and it's like, oh, which is just such a peculiar phenomenon. I really sort of want to highlight that the
Nobody
Liberal Party, like he is kind of like he's kind of a big deal, you know. He's a very successful guy. Wouldn't you want to celebrate that kind of thing? But the answer is no, we don't want to celebrate it because it looks bad for us. But even the CBC, by the way, the Liberal Party's communications department, even they routinely interview and cite this man. He's definitely not a partisan. But the Liberals still find it in their hearts to boo him.
They did a really good interview actually on supply management and the reasons why it needs to go. And Canadians, pick up your email there and start emailing your MPs and say that should end supply management if you want cheaper food on the table. And maybe we'll get our CUSMA deal as well. And it's time for vacation. The bonus, we talked about that I think a couple shows ago now. It's bonus time in Ottawa. Christmas time is bonus time, and 90 to 100% of the bureaucrats get their bonuses, and big bonuses too. Big, huge bonuses. You can go back and watch that show. I think in the Canadian Infrastructure Bank, the average bonus was $85,000. And there was even one CRA worker that makes $177,000, wasn't showing up for work, and they didn't give her bonus, and they ended up giving it to her anyway. Bonus time, 90 to 100% of them. There's no metrics tied to it. It's just basically bonus time. And here it is, vacation time as well. So they're ready because how long have they worked? You know, they've been in session for what? All of a hot minute. But the MPs could begin their long Christmas vacation as early as today. As Canada's elite human capital, meanwhile, is about to go on another long and restful vacation to ensure they have the opportunity to make the most of Christmas. Members of Parliament could down tools as early as today before returning to work on, do you get this? January 26th. January 26th. Their break is more than a month. December 11th to January 26th. I don't know how many Canadians are getting this. How many Canadians are getting bonuses no matter how good you are or how bad you are? Like which department has excelled in Canada, I would ask. Which one has excelled? They continue to feed at the trough, including the CBC. Look at the work the CBC does in Canada. And they got a raise too. They got $150 million from the Liberals in the budget. And what did they do right away? What did they do? The executive gave themselves all a big fat raise. Nothing for the reporters, but the executive right in the trough, face first, and just drowning in cash. Nice.
It is just... I'm just endlessly fascinated by this, how this is allowed to fly, you know, how this is allowed to continue. We're in a country here, Canada, that has some of the worst allotments of vacation time for workers on the planet. Like there's barely any country on this planet that's worse than Canada. Pretty much the only one is the US. And it tends to work out because of the way that they negotiate in America, that they actually get more in America. So you could argue that Canada is literally the worst country on the planet when it comes to vacation time. And yet our dear leaders who write the laws, they're the ones who decide things like minimum vacation time for workers. They decide to give themselves more time off than even like teachers. They give themselves like half the year off while being paid something like 5 or 6 times the average salary. The contempt that shows for the Canadian people, it's just so brazen. I mean, this is like Charlie Angus levels of telling people to F off in the street, telling voters, just, abusing voters in the street. It's just remarkable. I just find it amazing. I'm so fascinated by it, that it continues. And usually the justification is something along the lines of, well, you know, these are like really high grade people. Like we need to make sure that like we can attract the best. I mean, have you watched Question Period lately? Do you think we've got the best people in Canada in the House of Commons? Do you honestly think that? These people, I mean, sorry, I'll get off my high horse here, but I wouldn't really trust these people once. I mean, I definitely would not trust them to do that. And yet, you know, that's our elite human capital.
Perhaps it's hard to hear the complaints of Canadians when you got your face buried in the trough up to your ears and you're just gobbling up Canadian taxpayer dollars without any empathy for Canadians right now that look at beef like it's a luxury. And it's absolutely crazy. If you like what we do here, if you like our show and like what we point out, these are facts. If you like what it is, please share, subscribe, share it as much as you can. We need to build a bigger audience. We need to get this out there because CBC is not doing the job. $1.55 billion they're doing. We're going to look at their site later. We're going to outline a few more scandals because then we're going to go there and see how many they covered off. And usually it is nada. So let's keep going. Tell us where you're from, by the way, too, and tell us the temperature right now. So we had some rain in the lower mainland, one of those big rainfalls that even close some of the highways. But here's another one, liberal policy. And we say this a lot, policies that benefit the few at the expense of the many. And we remember that college dean there in Contesga in Ontario there?
It's mentioned in this story, Conestoga. Yeah.
Conestoga. Over $600,000 he makes, and he benefited the most. It was a bonanza. Colleges in the single province made a fortune in fees on foreign students, StatsCan confirmed yesterday. Record enrollment by foreigners made Ontario the only jurisdiction in Canada where colleges raised more in tuition than they required in public funding. Ontario was the only province where the majority of college revenue, 65%, came from fees. The largest recorded growth in revenue in more than 2 decades. So policies that benefit the few. So tons of foreign students benefiting these colleges at the expense of what? Healthcare, rent, jobs, all those things, right? For the regular Canadian. College revenues rose 11.5% to $18.5 billion in 2023 to 24, wrote analysts. Nearly 4/5 of the annual increase in college revenue, 77% came from student fees. Foreign student study permits peaked in 23 at over 1 million individuals nationwide. Most of this growth came from international students studying in Ontario, who pay up to 4 times more fees than Canadian students. Spelling error in one of Blacklock's stories. Look at that, eh?
They do that now and then. They also use American spellings, I find.
But here's our
Very
friend.
naughty.
Here's our friend. The large foreign student enrollments, 40,565 at Conestoga College of Kitchener, Ontario in 23, followed by the University of Toronto, 31,000, Seneca College, Toronto, 23, University of Canada West, blah, 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 blah. Nothing lasts forever. So they, like this is John Tibbetts. Like you gotta love this, right? So here's a guy feasting at the trough again at the expense of Canadians. And they asked him, we played the clip, was it about a month ago? We played the clip of asking him if he deserved that salary. $640,000 a year for a Conestoga College dean, president. And he testified at October 9th hearing, and we played that, that foreign student enrollment was not about money. Really? And Canadians are stupid, I guess. There's no money to be made, he said. We didn't try to make money. We're just trying to fill shortages. Good one. Good one.
Look at that surplus as well, and look at the years. What do those years correspond to? Surplus went from 3 million in 2015 to 252 million in 2024. What happened in 2024? It's like it literally coincides with a certain someone's time in office.
They come to committee here and they just blatantly lie. We pointed out yesterday, the deputy minister for Melanie Joly there admits he's lying in the first line, and then later on he says, well, misinformation, you were there. You lies. This is, again, the facts right there. Conestoga's operating surplus went from 3 million in 2015 to 252 in 2024. Crazy, eh? A college.
And just like context, I suppose, if nobody really needs this context, but I'll just say it anyway. The reason that this is such a scandal is that they were selling something that wasn't theirs to sell. They were selling Canada. They were selling residency. So they were running off with a lot of money while we, the people that live in this country, paid the price. We paid the cost in, downgraded services, all the rest of it, everything else that has happened since Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister, or since the Liberals won in 2015. That is what's so outrageous about it. It's like, I'll run off with my millions and I won't pay the price for it, but you will, and you won't get anything for it. Quite the opposite, actually. You will suffer so that I can make lots of money.
And these are the people that were screeching that screech, for the liberals and say, you're racist, misogynist for complaining and not allowing immigrants here. They have a vested interest. That's salary. Look at that. Let's go to the CBC right now. And we're not censoring anybody, so that's YouTube if you're saying stuff that's nasty. But let's go to CBC and see if they're covering any of this. Like if they're covering this Conestoga president making $650,000. What do we got? What's going on today? Via rail? Nope.
I've been getting alerts because for my sins, I have the CBC News app, and I've been getting alerts sent to my phone all morning about this train, as if it really matters at all. But yeah, that's a top story.
You got to have some Trump stuff in there. So we got Trump test drives affordability message. Like where's the scandals? Where? I don't see them. Disney to invest $1 billion in OpenAI. Who cares?
Some provinces are selling US booze again. Is yours one of them?
Okay. Nothing. 1.55 billion.
You missed no link between vaccines and autism, World Health Organization reaffirms. Yeah. Take that, Robert Kennedy.
$1.55 billion. Where's this story? Foreign study was bonanza. Where is it? Where's the scandal of the Celestis guy? We even give him a day because yesterday we highlighted it, where he said he lied in committee hearing, admitted he lied, and is anybody calling for his job? Lied to Canada, lied to Canadians, didn't just lie in committee. He's answering to Canada, and he lied. Mark Carney, the king of clarity. We talked yesterday where the story was that he's going to force people back to work. And here he is, providing clarity. You see if you get any clarity in this little clip here.
There is an element as well, and I know this is understandably a topic of some focus, of greater time in the office or return to office. I just want to be clear about that process. One is that we will be engaging with the public sector unions on the modalities of that, on the appropriate levels of that. We will come to a sharper view on it over the course of the next several weeks. And there will likely be different levels of return depending on seniority, depending on role, and obviously depending on capacity. This is about making, I'm a huge fan of the public service. We need the public service at this critical time, and we need public servants to have all the tools, including offices and workspaces that make their jobs as interesting, as impactful as possible.
Modalities.
Clarity. See, you know what? One is powerful in Canada. You know what's really powerful in Canada? The Federal Employees Union. Because every time they've said they're going to do something, they backtrack the next day. They said that they're going to put them in the military. Next day. Nope.
Yeah.
You're going back to work. Next day. Nope. Right? Like just basically, the firestorm, they all quit working and they just start picking up the phone and it's a huge voting block. And that's how Bruce Fanboy got his job.
That's funny. Fanboy. You mean...
Yeah,
that's what we should call him from now on.
Whatever his name is. Hey?
Bruce Fanboy, yeah. But I just want to highlight once again, for those at the back, modalities. Would you trust a guy? Would you buy a car off a guy who used the word modalities? I wouldn't even buy a can of Pepsi of somebody that used the word modalities. What is that word? It's just terrible and impactful as well. Like just a word that you find in HR departments.
So basically, what's
he doing? What's he thinking? He's smarter than this.
Basically,
he's obviously trying to be, isn't he?
What he's saying in that clip there is like, we're only going to force this on the lowest common denominator. So like the people that have less pay. So if you have some seniority, if you have some power in there, like absolutely no, you'll be fine. Just, like you got to find the sacrificial lamb, right? The D&D last year, we should check this year. We did the story last year. They're supposed to come into work 3 days a week. That's what they're supposed to be. The federal workers are supposed to come in 3 days a week. That's their thing. And last year during Christmas, or the month of December, I should say, not Christmas, they only showed up, 85% of them didn't even show up for the 3 days a week. But if you're a soldier that makes almost minimum wage, can you call it in? Can you say, I'm going to work from home today instead of that ditch you're sending me to?
I mean, we asked that question rhetorically. The answer is maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, the head of the Canadian military thinks it's suitable to weep on camera and talks about racism or whatever it was. So maybe. I mean, if you go up to her and you start crying, say, I just can't do it. It's too snowy today. Maybe, yeah. Maybe you can stay at home.
Here's another one from Holly Donald Blacklocks here. Public Safety Minister, our friend Gary. I can't say his last name even if I'm looking at it. Anda Sangria. Yeah, I think I got it.
Anand Sangari.
There you go.
It's like music. Anand Sangari.
In an internal memo, question bias. We talked about this yesterday of a subsidized advocacy group, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. It awarded the network a $200,000 research grant, even as staffers expressed unease over the funding. In the past, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network has been accused of creating products that were not free from bias, said the Access Information. Was this taken into consideration to provide funding? The Minister's Office declined to make any public statement on the grant. Of note, the Minister's Office is aware and has declined to provide a quote. Nice. There you go. The $200,000 funding expires next March, so keep taking the cash money, right? Even though, you know. Records show the Anti-Hate Network has targeted pro-life Catholics, conservatives under the pretext of exposing neo-Nazis. The group in 2021 named as conspiracy theorists two former premiers, Bill Vander Zalm of BC and Brian Peckford of Newfoundland and Labrador, over their public opposition to pandemic mandates. The Anti-Hate Network in 2024 published a booklet, 40 Ways to Fight the Far Right, that named Campaign Life among the kinds of far right and hate movements we've seen in Canada over the past few years. Campaign Life organizes yearly Parliament Hill marches attended by Catholic school children. If fascists are holding public demonstration, you should too be in the streets, said this 40 Ways booklet. The Anti-Hate Network since 2020 has received almost $1 million in federal grants, $908,000.
Referring to people as fascists, as we've discussed this numerous times, haven't we, in the past? But just to kind of do the three-line whip on this, referring to somebody as a fascist is basically, it's tantamount to putting a target on their head, isn't it? Let's be honest. And we've seen it. We've seen people murdered in the United States quite recently, an attempt to murder Donald Trump, who's often falsely referred to as a fascist by, you know, the New York Times, among other authorities. That's just for starters. That's an extremely dangerous thing to do, especially when you're talking about people who are in no way fascist, especially when you don't know what the word fascist even means, as is apparently the case with these people. But this anti-hate network, and I've said it before, there are similar organizations in the United Kingdom, Germany. Germany's a big one for this kind of thing, as you might be aware. The United States, all over the West, these organizations exist, and they call themselves innocuous things like that, don't they? Anti-hate network, you know, pixies and fairies and unicorn society. What they are in reality, most of the time, is extremist left-wing partisans who want to do hit jobs on mainstream conservatives. That's what this is. You know, it's kind of
using tax.
It's been exposed now. We know this now. Yeah, and using taxpayers' money. Yeah. We know this by now, don't we? It's appalling. It's really appalling. And they're talking about things that undermine democracy, like, you know, chop away at the belief in democracy. Can you point to anything better than this? Is there a stronger candidate than this? This is disgraceful. And it's so disgraceful, indeed, that one of the quotes here is from Stephen Guilbeault, who is a progressive, you know, radical. It's hard to describe him in any other way. But even he comes out and says, his line is, our role as a government, but also as parliamentarians, is to work to unite people, not divide them. That was his comment relating to this. I mean, even Guilbeault is not on board with this kind of thing. It's quite telling, and maybe it's an indication for some people, something to learn, to read about, an indication that Justin Trudeau's government and Justin Trudeau himself were maybe a bit sort of mad. They were pretty out there.
We're going to skip the next story, and we're going to go on to this other one. Good for investors in France. A cabinet decision to cut tolls on PEI's Confederation Bridge. Remember, they rolled that out. One of the first things they did. Guarantees French investors more than $40 million a year in taxpayer subsidies. And also, Anita Annan's husband is linked to this as well. I think it's her company. His company is managing this bridge. And that's, I mean, they won't reveal what the deal was, of course, right? Would they, right? Prime Minister Carney announced a concession last July when they cut the cost on that bridge. The main source of uncertainty relates to traffic projections. When they reduced that toll, analysts put costs at $44 million next year, rising to $47 million in 2029. The budget office estimates the measure will increase government's transfer payments by $206 million over 2025 and 2030. A billion-dollar bridge was built at taxpayers' expense and then leased to the Strait Crossing Development Incorporated under a confidential contract. Nice, eh? Confidential contract. Why not, right? National security, I guess, right? That expires in 2032, and Anita Annan's husband is part of that. Partial disclosures put the Strait's annual margin at 54%. If you could get margins at 54% in most companies, man, you'd be like laughing. Strait Crossing is owned by Vinci Group, a French multinational with investments across the European Union. The Department of Transport sealed all records regarding Confederation Bridge under the access to information until 2026. So I mean, like, we get all this information late because they just drag it out because they hope then, oh, that's already in the past. So what's happening now, you don't get to see for another couple of years, right? So you just have to look at what happened in the past and then project.
My favorite line is the last one in this story, where a Liberal MP says, here's a living, breathing example of a risk-free investment. Why couldn't the government just operate it themselves? Like, obviously, yeah. Mad.
You know what?
Why? I mean, it's baffling. Really is baffling.
You know what the next one is that is going to be just like this risk-free investment for companies? Is this carbon capture that came to Alberta right now. Carbon Capture USA left the United States because there's no more tax credits down there because they killed the whole green scheme. So they came to Canada, and they're getting 75% tax credit, 75 cents on the dollar. They're getting that. Basically, if you could get that, basically they're paying for your whole investment, and then the ability to tax private corporations for energy. Wow, crazy. And then I'm not going to.
It's a very similar. It's a very good comparison actually, because it's basically giving people a license to raise taxes in your. It's like, there you go. It's and as we've said many times, this used to happen during the Middle Ages, where some particular individual, like a noble, would be given that power to raise taxes themselves. It was kind of like a great privilege, a great sort of example of patronage. It made you very powerful and rich. What is this bridge and carbon capture but that? It's like, here's a bridge, you're guaranteed to make huge amounts of money. You don't even really need to do much, just manage the toll booths sort of thing. There you go, there's that. What is that if not kind of the right to raise taxes? It's like the right to rival the CRA almost. It's absolutely bananas.
Private corporations given the right to tax Canadians. Great deal for them. And this, I'm not going to play this whole clip because it goes on forever, but it just makes a mockery. This Stellantis scandal is massive, and this is an MP questioning Francois Philippe Champagne, and they refuse to answer. And it's just you got to go watch yourself. It'll frustrate you to no end how they stall and won't give the information. And they say, well, if you read the whole contract and not just the redacted version, you would know better. Well, he said, well, give me the unredacted version. Of course not, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't be stupid.
And then here is the candidate for Fool of the Day all the time, Melanie Joly. Let's listen into her.
No, but I'm trying to help you.
No.
I'm trying.
Let's go past that one because I can't do Francois. I'd rather listen to Iain do an imitation of Francois.
He was doing. It's funny you should say that because he was reading a line from Lord of the Rings there, wasn't he? Gandalf. I'm trying to help you, but he did it in his Champagne voice. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear Champagne do the whole Lord of the Rings script, actually.
Yeah. Maybe for Christmas.
That would be a real treat.
Let's listen in to Melanie Joly explain to us how it's the Conservatives that have messed up Canada, not the Liberals.
And obviously the opposition, rather than working as one Team Canada, pushing back against the Trump tariffs, are trying to blame the government for actually attracting investments and creating jobs, which I think is completely ridiculous. I think that Canadians see through all this. They want us to fight against the American tariffs as we're in this trade war. And so that's what I'm trying to do every single day. Fight against the American tariffs. Make sure that Stellantis is on the hook, working with the workers and, of course, their unions, which is in this case Unifor, as one strong team, and making sure that ultimately we save the jobs in the auto sector in Ontario, period.
I think you're really working the hands lately, eh?
Oh yeah, she's learned from Mark Carney. But just to make the obvious point here, and I know that I am definitely stating the obvious, but she's attacking the Tories for failing to work, in her words, as one Team Canada. Failing to do that. What does that mean, Melanie? What is Team Canada? I think we know at this point what Team Canada means. It means do exactly what we say, the Liberal Party. That's Team Canada. Why would you come out with this facile argument about how the Tories don't believe in cooperation? Her idea of cooperation is do what we tell you to do. And if you don't, we'll go to the press and say that you don't care about Canada. And what kind of a deal is that, you know?
She is, you know what we can see, Melanie Jolie? We can see through what you're saying. That's what we can see. Hey,
and as usual, we can also see that she's rattled. She's always rattled. Yeah. She's always, like, it looks to me, she's always on the verge of, she's just about to snap, just about to go over the edge, isn't she? She talk about, like, Dominic LeBlanc saying we're going to be calm, cool, no emotions involved. What's Melanie doing?
Gary and the Sangria was on CBC there. David Cochrane obviously on a big holiday there. And Gary didn't get the memo that David Cochrane wasn't going to be there and just asking softball questions. Listen to this on the gun grab.
I want to ask you about firearms and firearm crime, because really when you look at some of the statistics from police, it suggests that most of the guns used in the commission of a crime in this country don't come from legal firearms owners in this country. They come from the United States. I was looking at some of the data. The Toronto Police Service very helpfully supplied some. 90% of the guns that they take off the streets as part of a sweep when it comes to a crime come from the United States. Illegal firearms from the Americans. Why crack down on legal firearms owners who arguably go through very stringent requirements to get a license and then have to follow a bunch of paperwork and regulations and what have you? Why go after them and not pour the $742 million you've allocated for this gun buyback program into beefing up the things that are happening at the border to stop what is really the main source of crime guns in this country?
JP, I've outlined the other efforts we're making on firearms, including additional resources at the border, additional RCMP, CBSC officers, the changes we're making to
but is it public money well spent? You know, we obviously are in a finite budget situation. You're about to cut across the board some 15% if the Prime Minister gets his way. $742 million that is going to be spent on this buyback program. Couldn't you deploy that to other areas, including cracking down on where the guns are actually coming from, where these crime guns are sourced, the United States? Like, I think in this era where money is tight, does it make sense to expend this sort of money and police people who are not largely responsible for the gun crimes that we're seeing?
How long will that guy last at CBC actually doing his job? Like, holy cow. He even started laughing to himself. He's just like, this is just lunacy. And it is lunacy. We've highlighted many times. They've already spent almost $50 million on this gun grab and have amassed, how many guns is that? That's right, zero. And Yukon just came out yesterday. Or Yukon said, no thanks. Ontario said, no thanks. Alberta said, no thanks.
Yeah, but this is the irony, isn't it, that the Liberal Party in the last election campaigned on the idea that they're about substance and the Tories are all about slogans. That was like literally the heart of, or one of the hearts. They had numerous hearts, didn't they? But one of the hearts of their campaign. But there are so many Liberal policies, this one included, do not survive as anything but a slogan. It's only as a slogan that this survives. And I would say also net zero and their environmental policy, it's based on the slogan, isn't it, that we care about the planet. Like, stop the forest fires, stop the world collapsing by introducing this tax regime on fossil fuels. Even just a tiny bit of scrutiny, which is all that we ask as humble Canadian citizens of the CBC, just a little tiny bit of scrutiny, and you see straight away that it just falls to pieces. This gun thing, their entire attitude to guns is farcical, isn't it? Because 99% of their focus should be on the American guns, or guns that are brought in the States, and illegal guns rather than legal ones. But that's what I mean. It's a slogan, isn't it? And then just a little bit, just a wee bit of questioning, and it just completely collapses, and there's no defense.
$750 million has been budgeted for this program. Who gets the money? We've shown you in the dental program that they keep touting, $473 million just for administration in 2 years, just for the administration, $473 million. Who's getting that money? Who got the $50 million already? They got zero guns. Where did the $50 million go? Where is this, like, what is actually for guns? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's money going somewhere else. And here you go. Yeah, as proof, here you go, Gary. BC Mounties seized 14 kilograms of fentanyl, guns, and 86,000 in cash in a drug lab. We did interviews. Most of the drugs are coming in sea cans through rail and through the ports. Sea cans that, what do they expect? I think they told us 2 to 3% of them are being inspected.
Too easy, that, isn't it?
There's a Home Depot bucket of fentanyl for you, right? It was a large.
Well, the precursors as well being sent by mail, like literally Canada Post dropping off your fentanyl precursors.
Large lab in Lower Mainland dismantled, and you're going to love the end of this story. A large lab in Lower Mainland dismantled as investigators seized about 14 kilos of suspected fentanyl. This lab bust was done in mid-September, and they're only announcing it today, or yesterday, Wednesday. And they also seized 13
I'm sure
firearms.
They announced it to the American back channels earlier, just to be like, see, look.
13 firearms, 8 handguns, 5 long barrel rifles, 4 stun things. And according to police, RCMP has released a search warrant executed at the Richmond house, resulting in additional drugs and cash. 1 person arrested, but, ready? Released without charges pending further investigation. Why not, right? Because remember, CBC
and
said
they may or may not be.
Hey, CBC said jails are full. Why would we want to keep people?
But they may or may not have since taken a plane to another country. We wouldn't know. We literally don't. Nah, that's not our job, mate. RCMP doesn't do that.
We don't need this next
it's
one.
Remarkable.
Done that one. So Daniel Smith becomes the first Alberta premier in 90 years to face citizen recall. I mean, it looks like that one's politically motivated. I doubt if that one goes anywhere, but we put it in there anyway.
Well, yeah, it's not expected to go anywhere. They need to get 60, or the signature equivalent in a riding of 60% of the people that voted in 2023. I mean, it's just impossible to motivate that many people to sign like a very tendentious like that. It's not like maybe if Danielle Smith was like completely off the rails and like, you know, executing rabbits on TV or something like that.
But I guarantee
maybe then everyone would be motivated. But she's a fairly popular right of centre premier. Like, there's absolutely no chance they're going to get that many signatures. Just pointless.
This will make the CBC website. You watch. This one will make the CBC website for some strange.
Oh yeah, definitely. By the way, I just want to give a shout out to someone, one of the commenters here, who's called Global Traveller. He's quite informed. I think he knows quite a lot about energy. But he was just saying earlier on that, you know, when we talk about nuclear power plants, saying you can't compare nuclear or gas to solar. And yeah, I mean, I just want to say we do know that, but we appreciate your knowledge anyway. And all the context of China, it's still important, isn't it, when they're getting on all those solar panels and all those gigawatts. Yeah, I say gigawatts, not quite the same as a gigawatt of nuclear, but it's still a big deal that they're doing that, the Chinese. And it's got people like Jensen Huang and Elon Musk very, very well. I mean, we're not the only ones that are mentioning that.
And this is the can of worms that David Eby and the Liberals have opened up with DRIP.net. Listen to this. This is what's happening out there in, Ola's going to play this clip here for Nova Scotia here.
A Nova Scotia First Nation says it has banned the province's premier and 2 senior ministers from their land. The Speakanakity First Nation says Premier Houston, Attorney General Scott Armstrong, and Lee Martin, the minister responsible for leading negotiations on Aboriginal and treaty rights, are not welcome, branding them as undesirables. The ban comes 1 week after the province announced a crackdown on illegal cannabis sales. First Nations groups immediately responded, arguing the province has no jurisdiction on their lands.
Expect a lot more of that. Expect a lot more of that. Coming to a city.
It's mad, isn't it?
Coming to a city near you. And then Pierre Poilievre facing his leadership review too, and there is, probably more to this one. There is some, he's sinking a little bit in the polls and that. And this is from Angus Reid. Popularity within the Conservative Party is diminishing, and I know the CBC pushes this one a lot as well. And it's in his run-up to his leadership review coming this January. I mean, I meant if you went on the the poly markets, I doubt if he's really that much in jeopardy, but maybe. The Angus Reid Institute found a majority, 58%, still back the MP, but the proportion has fallen to 60 from 68 in August. So I just don't know who else they would have.
But it's not a good sign, is it? Because it's about the trend, and the trend has gone down. I think he is going to, I mean, almost certainly he'll pass this review and remain as leader. But if he doesn't turn the trend around, then it's just going to kind of stagnate, isn't it? It's going to start to fester and stink, and then eventually he'll get Julius Caesared, metaphorically speaking, at a later date.
Yeah, and then I put this clip up. This is Adventures with Sable, and this is a young lady that's been on the on other platforms, and one of the guys that we follow on the internet there says, you need to come on X. X is the #1 news platform out there in the world now, almost on every country. And I think within like a day, she's got 20,000 followers, kicking our ass. Anyway, so I'm just going to play a small clip from Adventures with Sable here. Get her followers.
Canadians to hear this. What you are seeing right now is not your imagination. There is a divide growing in this country, and it is not coming from the people. It is coming from the federal government. Refugee claimants are considered residents of Canada for the purpose of federal benefits the moment that they receive their temporary documents. That status unlocks multiple federal programs.
That's good. We've highlighted many of these things already. You know, there is, like, when they come in, they get furniture, they get access to medical, a whole bunch of things. We've said that many times. Many Canadians are probably better off cross the border into the United States, rip up all their documentation, and come back in and claim refugee status or asylum.
Yeah. Just one of the commenters right now is asking if I'm Third Nations. Do I count as Third Nations? That is a very strange term, isn't it? First Nations. But it's, I mean, what do you have a better idea? Like, what's the better term? I don't really know. There aren't really, there isn't a perfect term for that. But it is a bit strange because obviously, I think Inuit are included, or usually they're mentioned, aren't they, in the same breath as First Nations. But Inuit's settlement, the Inuit settlement of, I believe, post-dates the Viking settlement. So it's actually after the Europeans. I mean, that's just one tiny little facet of the history and how complex the history is. So yeah, I mean, if you can come up with a better term, well, not that one. I think that's an offensive term, isn't it, Mister?
Let's go move on to our BC news.
Live from the Now Media newsroom.
David Eby, I think he's the conductor on the train that is the BC train wreck, and I interviewed Gavin Dew yesterday. You can go watch that interview. It was a good interview with Gavin Dew as they seek a new leader for the BC Conservative Party. But man, there's a whole bunch of messes going on here. But Vaughn Palmer there, and this is where I interviewed Jeff Moyse, the lawyer, too. It says that David Eby's government is operating in secrecy and denial. And I mean, same thing in that Richmond land thing. They didn't inform the landowners. From the Land Act revamped to $104 million Salish agreement to Heritage Act changes, quiet court interventions, caution, hide title cases, major decisions were made, downplayed or revealed only after elections. Even key NDP ministers say they're kept in the dark. And then when I interviewed Jeff Moyse said most of the NDP MLAs don't even know what's going on. He says most of this reconciliation is being driven right out of the Prime Minister's office with advisors that have written some stuff that is very, very controversial, including that Canadians need to feel a lot of pain when it comes to reconciliation.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I find really damaging is there's that video, that clip doing the rounds of David Eby at the debates, where he's saying, where he says, like, John Rustad's trying to get you afraid and make you think your land's going to be taken away. And he's saying, like, that is just, there's no chance of that happening. And then there's the leader of the Green Party, like, like, as well, as if Rustad's this, like, idiot who's conspiracy theorist, mad person. Lo and behold, I feel like that clip is so damning. I'm surprised that the BC Conservatives don't just play that, like, 24/7, because it makes it look like, Eby was either wrong or being untruthful. Maybe we can get our massive tech budget we have. We don't have quite what the CBC has, $1.55 billion. I think we're short about $1.55 billion in their budget. But maybe if we could put our names underneath us there, then somebody doesn't call you just the green shirt guy. If you could just put the guy's name underneath him there for the people that are new to the channel. That would be great. From our tech department, we'll see if we can get that up for you. Let's see. I'm paying respect to my Irish heritage. Green shirt guy. Eby promises to go to the wall, though. He says he's going to go to the wall to defend private property in BC. Why don't you just let people in on what you're doing? Why all the secrecy? And BC, Eby has promised business leaders he will go to the wall amid fears over land rights in the province following two controversial court rulings, and one, the BC Supreme Court ruled Cowichan tribes hold Aboriginal title over a stretch of land that's about 800 acres in Richmond there that include private land. Some of the city of Richmond owns some of it, and then some large commercial properties. While on the other, this one is even more troubling. BC Court of Appeal gave immediate legal effect to the United Nations DRIPA, Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People in the province, and that was on a gold mine. We will protect the private property owners. Renee Merrifield, you got to go watch Tuesday's Beyond the Ballot. Covered this off very, very well. You got to go watch it. This is huge. This is absolutely massive. And that's what he means when he says go to the wall. Not necessarily for property owners. He's going to go to the wall to save his own skin, because this will sink him, guaranteed. He's got so many things he's on the wrong side of people want. And one is the pipeline as well. Most British Columbians want a pipeline. David Eby does not. So this is David Eby's world, and it's colliding with the people right now. And if they pull a leader out that is half decent, and here's one that's running, Caroline Elliott. We put her clip in the other day, and I said she was a nobody. Turns out Renee said, no, she's going to run for leadership of the Conservative Party. And here's her little clip here, throwing her hat in the ring. Oh, there's no link? Oh, there you go. Messed that one up, right? So that's our tech department. No link. Did we get our name up? You got my name up there. We're working on the other guy, though. An Ontario company that put down a deposit to buy a luxury hotel in Richmond pulled out of the deal worth tens of millions of dollars weeks later due to uncertainty. This is happening more and more in British Columbia, and we talked about that a ton. The Ontario company, we're seeing that all over the place. Court documents show the 14-story Versante Hotel close to the Vancouver International Airport was instead bought by a Hong Kong purchaser for a lower price. Yeah, it's deflating or devaluing properties. Because there's a lot of uncertainty in BC. Like, if you're investing billions of dollars, would you invest in British Columbia right now? Would you? Seriously? It's even beyond that, isn't it? It's like a national question. And this is, again, where's Mark Carney on this? Where's Mark Carney on a lot of things, really? You can pretend that this is a BC only issue, but it's not. BC is one of the most important parts of the country of Canada. The Prime Minister of Canada should be bothered about this. You know, he should be talking about this all the time. BC Ferries is another one. But instead, I mean, I don't know if people have seen the video, trying to get to run away from the press. He's like, no, don't talk to them. They're not your friend. They're not your friend. Like, about it. But it's not funny, really, is it? Because there are so many things going on in this country that he hasn't even opined on. He doesn't even ask. Oh, he's not even asked. And he certainly doesn't volunteer that opinion. But this is huge. This is, you know, is there anything more important than property rights, really? Or is there anything more important than, like, whose land is this? Who's the ultimate authority here? What could be a bigger question for a country than that? And yet we don't have his view on it, you know?
I did talk to Aaron.
So weird.
Sorry, I did talk to Gavin Dew yesterday, and we talked about the leadership race too. And Aaron Gunn's name has been thrown around. Yes, somebody in the comments said that as well. Aaron Gunn. I mean, he's an MP right now, but he's also very popular in British Columbia. Caroline Elliott, Eleanor Sturko, lots of names being thrown around. So they have a good field of people. You know, they just need to pick the right person that can. When we interviewed Jonathan Kay, they need to find somebody that can bring the Conservatives back together. They need somebody that can gel them, because there's a whole bunch of fractures going on out there. One BC, center BC, and then you have to wonder what's going on with John Rustad, whether he'll stick into the Conservative Party as well. But I put up yesterday, and I asked Gavin Dew, Christy Clark, look at this post. Can you put that up? I put that link in there. Christy Clark put up a tweet. This sure looks like she wants to throw her hat in the ring, but, you know, he didn't think so. But we'll see if we can put this picture up. You tell me if you think, no, that's the Caroline Elliott piece finally. But I got it right down here, the tech department. Again, if you want to contribute to our budget so we can match CBC's budget, that would be appreciated. Or if you can convince the CBC to share, seeing how they're not doing the work. What do you think of that? Does that look like she's ready to run again?
She's interested, yeah. But I mean, it's strange because in that little, statement that she made, she talks about having like new blood or something like that, doesn't she? Having a new premier or something. So that wouldn't be her. Well, she's already been the premier, unless she counts the second one. Unless you would count that as like fresh and new and different.
Do you have that Caroline Elliott one that when they go back to? Like that little clip there? This is the lady, they say she might be one of the front runners. She's actually related to Kevin Falcon, so this is a twisted story. They could make a Netflix show out of this one because it's like Rustad was the downfall of Kevin Falcon, and Kevin Falcon's revenge is coming back. Yeah, he's going to play it here. We're going to play the clip in full screen, please. That's not the music. Yeah, I guess we're not going to do it. Got all that music there, so. There you go. Okay, that's good enough. Snappy beat. We're going to head into our international news, and we're going to get into more on the war stuff here.
Live from the Now Media Newsroom.
This is NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said the world must be ready for a full-scale war a scale of war that our parents and great-grandparents endured. We're going to play a small clip here.
To reporters in Berlin. I can just bring you some of his comments. He said a short while ago, in some previous comments earlier, that we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents or great-grandparents endured. If we deliver on our commitments, though, the tragedy can be prevented. That was in reference, I believe, to Ukraine. And you cannot keep the United States safe without a safe Europe. And going on to add that he is positive that the United States and Europe can get on the same page regarding Ukraine. There has obviously been great division between the views of the White House under Donald Trump in his second presidency and that of European allies and that of Ukraine itself as well.
That's good. That's good. That's good. And then Donald Trump was asked if he's going to head to, because NATO asked him to come to Europe. And he said, I'm not going there unless there's something worthwhile going for. So. But in a show of strength, the Japanese are asking the Americans to flex a little bit. And flex they did. We'll play this small clip here. That is U.S. B-52 bombers flying alongside Japanese F-35s, F-15 fighters over the Sea of Japan and Tokyo there. That was after the Chinese were laser targeting Japanese fighters, and in a pointed display of Allied power over Chinese and Russian aircraft carried out joint operations in the area. Japan is rattled. And again, when we were in Tokyo, my son said, why do the Japanese look like they love the Americans? This is why, right here. This is why. Because they know who protects them. And so they
know who daddy is.
Yeah, they know who daddy is, and they know what they need. They need the air supremacy. And, you know, and I watched the history. I watched this clip yesterday on the history, then we're going to get to it a little bit here, the history. Well, I'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's play this clip here from because they just passed the $900 trillion defense bill for 2026. So play this little clip here on the U.S. military and tell me if Canada stacks up.
No more distraction. No more electric tanks. No more gender confusion. No more climate change worship. We are laser focused on our mission of warfighting.
We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. It's called peace through strength.
You look into the eyes of these young Americans who are giving up the best years of their life in a uniform to serve their nation. They are incredible.
Through our power and might, we will lead the world to peace. Our friends will respect us, our enemies will fear us, and the whole world will admire the unrivaled greatness of the United States military.
That's good. You get the idea. There you go. If you want to recruit,
bit different from some of the other ads that they used to put out, isn't it?
If you want to recruit for the Canadian military, maybe try to get some of that equipment.
But there's no way that the Canadian military would put out an ad like that, because they seem to spend a lot of their time searching around in the military for white supremacists and, you know, toxic masculinity. That's what they spend a lot of their time trying to hunt out. They wouldn't put an ad like this out because it might invite more of that in.
And a weeping general that says that racism is rampant throughout the ranks that she's in charge of. And yet I have yet to see her resignation, because if she's in charge of it, how did it happen?
Quite.
The Americans seized, and here's another video here, and the Americans seized a Venezuelan oil tanker. The biggest one of its kind ever, biggest ever. Let's play this clip here. Yeah, no audio.
Some say the greatest of all time.
Yeah, and apparently this thing wasn't flying any flags or anything, because that these tankers are embargoed already, right? They're not supposed to be, or sanctioned. Not supposed to be going there. Supposedly it was off to Venezuela or Iran, right? Off to Iran. But
how like I haven't read in depth on this story, but why do the Iranians want oil? Like, that's the one thing that Iran has. That tells you that maybe Iran's not doing so well.
It might be going to Iran to go to China too. Who knows, right? And then you know, obviously there's a lot of talk about, you know, like the left-leaning media there, you know, saying that the Americans are looking for war with Venezuela. And then there's a question here for the Nobel Peace Prize winner that she just escaped to Norway there, and she's at a conference there in Norway, and this is what she had to say, a little clip of it.
Yesterday, the US seized a ship outside the coast of Venezuela. Would you welcome a US military intervention in Venezuela?
Look, some people talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime. We have the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels that have taken over 60% of our populations, and not only involved in drug trafficking, but in human trafficking, in networks of prostitution. So this has turned Venezuela into the criminal hub of the Americas. And what sustained the regime is a very powerful and funded, strongly funded repression system. Where does that funds come from? Well, from drug trafficking, from the black market of oil, from arms trafficking, for human trafficking. We need to cut those flows. And once it happens and repression is weakened, it's over, because that's the only thing the regime has left, violence and terror. So we ask the international community to cut those sources, because the other regimes that support Maduro and the criminal structure are very active and had turned Venezuela into the safe haven for their operations into the rest of Latin America.
Yes, this lady is the one that won the Nobel Peace Prize, and you know, like they said, they've won the election. That Maduro said, "Nah, I don't think so," and so she's basically saying, "Can you get my country back for me?" to Donald J. Trump.
I mean, we should say lots of people have said that throughout history, haven't they? They've gone to whoever it is. The British, they used to go to the British and ask those questions when Britain mattered back in the day.
Here's the lady that
So
won the
that in
Nobel Peace
itself
Prize.
is not like necessarily a big deal.
Yeah, she won the Nobel Peace Prize and then gave it to Donald Trump symbolically.
Sort of
symbolic.
She dedicated it to him, didn't she? I think. Yeah.
And then now she's asking for basically war. And here's history for you. And one of the most important things, if you want to win wars, is naval blockades. Naval blockades are the answer. And America was built with a naval blockade. The British won the Falkland Islands. Naval blockades. Naval blockades. So you got to have a navy to have a naval blockade, do you not? And we've put up this map here showing you what the Americans have done right now in the naval blockade. You know, that aircraft carrier sitting there pretty in the middle, you know what I mean, to launch F-22s and other F-35s and that off of. If you go watch the history of the Americas, I think it was in 1850, the Louisiana Purchase. I mean, a lot of America was Mexico. I didn't even know all that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the Western.
Well, France in that case. You talk about the Louisiana Purchase. He bought it off Napoleon.
Yeah. But
and it was a lot earlier than the 1850s. It was, I think, it was 1803 or something like that.
The western coast there was Mexico. Mexico went way up almost into Oregon there, and
well, the Spanish Empire did, and then the Spanish Empire collapsed, and Mexico, in South America at least, Mexico declared independence, and then that's when you had wars. But very interesting what happened with Texas, because the Americans like sent colonists into Texas and tried to like shift the numbers. They basically tried to mess with the demographics, and then it worked. Texas declared independence. Then not much longer after that, they joined the United States, and that's when you had a war. The Mexican-American War was kind of over that, which the Americans obviously won.
The Alamo, Daniel Boone, some of the lore, the folklore there, but yeah.
They also even went right down to Mexico City and occupied Mexico City. What a lot of people don't realize, they completely battered the Mexicans. There was no competition really.
They offered to buy like California and that for larger sums of money, but when they occupied Mexico, they said, okay, you can have Mexico back, and they cut the border down, way down, and then they said, we'll give you half of what we offered you earlier.
And then there was another settlement, which I think is to do with New Mexico or something. But yeah, the Americans bought loads of land. Obviously, Alaska from the Russians. That was a hell of a purchase, wasn't it? Excellent real estate purchase.
Why didn't the British Empire say, we can give you a couple shekels more for that? But
it's like it pains me to say it, but the British were terrible to Canada. They treated Canada like garbage because they didn't do things like that. But they also conceded to the Americans what we now call Washington State, like north of the mouth of the Columbia. That was British land, and that should have been, like, Seattle should have been part of Canada, but Britain didn't care about Canada, and they preferred to make a nice little deal with the Americans. So they said, "Oh, don't worry about it. You can have all that stuff, and we'll draw the line on this parallel here, which is very favorable to you, but we have Vancouver Island." I mean, the British just endlessly betrayed the Canadians. I'm sorry to say, terrible behavior.
One of the big points I'm trying to make, though, is you need a strong Navy to do any of this stuff, like to win wars. You need a strong navy. In Canada, what did they say they could offer to send? What was it? Remember you said like 8 jets?
3 frigates.
3 frigates. We can't even build ships.
I think Venezuela probably would win that battle. 3 frigates.
I think we're going to send. We can't even build ferries. We sent the money, Canadian taxpayer dollars, to China to build ferries. So what would we ask the Chinese to build us warships so that we can use against the Chinese? Is that how it works? So like, Trump
Judith
wants
Taylor, it's just a terrible insult. The worst of the UK is coming to Canada.
There you go. Is that
Sorry.
you? There you go.
I suppose so.
Oh, maybe it's not.
And then the 38th parallel, I wish Canada went down to the 38th parallel, but it's actually the 49th parallel, isn't it? But the Americans, cheeky buggers, they shouldn't have really got that.
Hey, can you please pick up your prince? I think he's in the U.S. I don't know if anybody wants him. Trump wants a new G7 minus Europe. So the Europe in it, look at that picture. Didn't you love that picture? There's our friend there, right there, with his hand up. Is he doing the Nazi thing, or what is he doing there?
Look at his legs as well. They went through a phase where they all put their legs out like that, spread their legs. Very, very peculiar people. Macron's there as well.
Macaroni Man is there, yep. Anyway, Trump's, they're pushing for a new G7. Because Trump likes Japan a lot, and Australia they've got some deals with, and he's saying they want to boot Europe out of it. So U.S., Japan, South Korea, Canada, and Australia. I mean, they can have all kinds of working groups. There's the BRIC nations. You can keep that. I mean, it's just a club thing, right? Like, it doesn't really mean much, these clubs. You know, a couple of meetings here and there, right?
That would certainly concord with their priorities, wouldn't it? Trump in particular, they're not bothered about Europe. But I do feel like they would want Britain in there, because Britain is like a useful, it's similar to Japan. It's like an unsinkable aircraft carrier. So they like islands. And
it's right at the top there too, so it does play a big role there. And it is the home of King Arthur. And then he's also floated, I've heard the C5 thing being floated too, and that C5 includes parts of the BRICS, Russia, India, China, the United States. I can't remember who the third one, the other one, or the fifth one was in there. But here's the U.S. economy. According to Kevin Hassett, who's been talked about being the new Fed chair come spring here. He says the economy is booming. We'll play a small clip here from Kevin Hassett as he makes the rounds out there.
President Trump got it exactly right. I thought his speech last night was fantastic. And he really, really enjoyed having the charts again. I can tell you that that's some feedback we got from yesterday. Because the bottom line is that the Democrats are out there saying things that are false. And like, they're not holding up charts telling you what's going on. But, we have a chart that showed that the typical family buying a new home saw their mortgage rate go up at an annual rate by $14,000 because of Biden's inflation and the high interest rates that followed from it. And so, people...
Another piece there, actually. There's a better one on CNN that explains this better. And then this one, the trade deficit, we won't play the clip just in the interest of time, too. I know that. We're going to play the CNN clip, though, on talking about inflation and when it ran here. Let's play this clip here.
You can look at the chart of inflation over the last 50 years, right? And you'll see two big bumps. On top of those big bumps are Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden. And those cliffs that fall off are Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Your dollar is worth 20% less right now today because of 21% CPI inflation under Joe Biden. Your wages are $3,000 less because your average salary and your real American wages went down by $3,000. That's a Joe Biden thing.
And you could say the same thing happened in Canada, same policies, same thing, same lighting the dollar on fire, same inflation, same everything, same poor policies that are all been chucked in the garbage in the United States. And look at that, their economy is rebounding, things are coming down. The real buying power in the United States has gone up, the real buying power, even when you go against inflation. And the biggest thing that they're seeing across the United States is cheap energy. We showed it a couple of times. Gasoline is cheap as 66 cents a liter. Imagine what we could do with 66 cents a liter gasoline. And we produce it. We're actually selling it to the Americans. We sell gasoline or oil to the Americans. And they sell it cheaper than we sell it. Most of our gasoline costs here in Canada are taxes, to be fair. And then they want to add more. They want to add more. They want to add more carbon capture credits, industrial carbon tax. Like if you could just see what's at the pump, GST, PST, federal tax, you know what I mean? Like if you go to the pump and break it down, you just, yeah.
And soon CCUS as well will be added to that list.
And it'll be added to the bottom line of companies like Brookfield. Good job.
Yeah.
But hey, the Liberals would tell you that it's owned by the CPP, like, the pension funds have it, so then you should be happy that they're screwing over Canadian taxpayers, because you get it back if you own CPP, which they want to tax you. They want to take it away from you if you actually manage to save a couple of shekels after all the taxation.
And it would be really weird, wouldn't it? You talk about Brookfield. What would be really, really strange and suspicious even is if the Prime Minister of this country stood to gain financially from the success of Brookfield in areas like carbon capture, which the Prime Minister is a big supporter of. Now that would be weird, wouldn't it? The media would just never shut up about that if that was happening.
What did the ethics commissioner say yesterday? We did the story. What did he say? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can't remember his exact words, but it was damning.
And it wasn't on the CBC yesterday that I saw, and it wasn't on there today. So I'm sure maybe it takes them a while for that news to filter through, because that should be the biggest.
The triple checking.
Shouldn't it be the biggest story? The ethics commissioner in Canada says that Mark Carney is compromised.
Yeah, well, confirmed in plain English, which is something rare, isn't it? Confirmed in plain English that Mark Carney's personal wealth will go up or down based on the success of Brookfield.
And we got to get this right here. Who cares? You got to get the hand motion. Who cares?
Brookfield, who cares? $20 million, who cares?
20 million.
Let's save the planet.
Here's some good news if you're a Bitcoin guy. Walmart is going to start accepting the Bitcoin. There you go. Walmart has over 150 million users. I think that's how many people go to Walmart every day. Walmartians. Are you a Walmart guy?
To be honest, very controversial. Most controversial thing I've ever said on this stream. I actually quite like Walmart. I think it's all right.
Well, you're a family man. You got to go to Walmart. I haven't been for a while. I have been lots when our kids were younger. You got to shop where it's cheaper, right? Like you got to find, obviously, trying to buy clothes and food and whatever you're trying to do, and you get so many shekels left, and the government wants to take most of the shekels. So, got to do what.
I still prefer Costco, though, to be honest. Just to make that clear.
Some people can't make Costco work because like the large purchases you have to make, right? Like if you want to get like like salsa sauce, you got to get enough for 2 jugs.
Yeah.
That'll last you like forever. And then some people just don't have the storage space, because the government has now convinced you that you could live in 300 square feet, raise 2 kids. Well, I guess you can't afford 2 kids, a cat and a dog. And then you got to store your salsa somewhere.
And also some people have what I've literally heard referred to as a Costco freezer, like an extra freezer in the basement or the garage or something. How are you supposed to have a Costco freezer if you're trapped in your 200 square foot dog kennel?
Well, if you don't, in the wintertime it works out, because if you don't run your heat and just leave your window open, you have a freezer.
At least you'll have cheap food storage. I would say though, just the last comment on Costco. You're saying a lot of people struggle to make it work for them. The only struggle I have with Costco and making it work is literally around the aisles, because it's so congested. It's so full of just everybody's everywhere at the same time, and it doesn't matter where you are. You're looking at a 50 pack of, I don't know, basil or something like that, and there's just 20 people on top of you. That Costco should look into double decker. They should go up, shouldn't they? Skyscraper Costco's.
You can order and they deliver it to your house.
But they charge you crazy prices, don't they? They add a premium to that.
They do.
I ain't paying that.
I ain't paying that. So there you go. I think Tuesday is the best day. When I used to go to Costco a lot, I'd go on Tuesdays. Tuesdays seems to be like the best day to go to Costco. And if you're watching this show, if that gets out there, like on our reach right now, if you could help us with our reach.
It's done.
If you could help us with our reach, though, so we could make an impact on that. Like, subscribe, share. This is the best undiscovered news commentary show on the internet, by far, for Canadian news. And to say that brag very, very sincerely. If you want to escape, we talk about the economic winter coming Canada. If you want to escape, you can go to sunnier climates, and Donald Trump will sell you a gold card. Now, the gold card is actually cheaper because at first he was talking about $5 million for a gold card. Now, a lot of them said it's only $1 million for a gold card, and for a corp, it's $2 million. And if you get the gold card for a company, and then if you want to bring in employees, they'll vet those employees at $15,000 a pop, and then they can get green cards from that. Look at that, making money. Cash.
The New York Times and CNN and all the rest of it are going to be following this like crazy, aren't they? And as soon as one bad egg buys their way in, they're going to be onto that, aren't they?
They were all about bringing in people, just open the border. Who cares? But hey, one person buys in, and
it'll be like a billionaire or something on it as well. But he'll oppose gay marriage or something. It's like, Trump, what are you doing?
Elon Musk is buying the Trillium card. Remember Trillium? Trillium is one Star Trek, right? That powers, I think, the USS Enterprise.
Or trilithium.
Trilithium.
Get it right, mate.
There you go. Holy cow, eh? Good thing you were there to save me. And hey, this is good news for everybody that was not a fan of Dr. Fauci. They're putting it into law, executive order, no more gain of function, although that was already out there, no more gain of function. But here's a signing of an executive order on gain of function.
Relates to gain of function research. Gain of function research is a type of biomedical research where pathogens are adulterated, viruses are adulterated to make them more potent or to change the way that they function. Many people believe that gain of function research was one of the key causes of the COVID pandemic that struck us in the last decade. What this executive order does, first of all, it provides powerful new tools to enforce the ban on federal funding for gain of function research abroad. It also strengthens other oversight mechanisms related to that issue and creates an overarching strategy to ensure that biomedical research in general is being conducted safely and in a way that ultimately protects human health more.
That's good. That's good. It's a big, beautiful bill. There you go.
Trump's voice has totally changed, hasn't it? Like the register of his voice is so different now. Like it's a lot deeper, which I find interesting.
If people want to help fund, or they could send us. We'll, like Jim Cramer does. We'll get that button when like we do a liberal story. We'll be like scandal, bullshit, liar. Play the big buzzer. If only
well, you already sound like a bit like Alex Trebek when you do the introduction. So maybe we could get the what was it where they get the special question?
Yeah. The Daily Double?
Yeah, the Daily Double. The Daily Scandal. That's what we should do.
How many daily scandals did we have today? I think we had about 4 or 5 scandals. Like the scandal. It's scandalous.
More than just one.
Trump giving a little bit of love to Elon Musk, and he's in PA, Pennsylvania there, the state that won on the presidency, and Elon Musk well credited for winning Pennsylvania. Remember, he was giving away $1 million a day. If you registered as a voter in Pennsylvania, and the left lost their mind.
Yeah, it went to court, didn't it?
Yep, and they lost. Let's go. Let's play it.
We all love Elon. Elon was up here campaigning, right? But I said, Elon, I think electric cars are great, but not everybody wants an electric car. And I ended the insane electric vehicle mandate where everybody was supposed to have.
That's good. That's good, because I hear that the audio is low on that clip. So he's just affirming the bros are back together. The breakup, they're trying to patch some fences there. But anyway, Yeah, I have a couple more. I'm just going to leave this. Ron DeSantis, I guess, in this, we won't play the clip, but Ron DeSantis is doing great things in the state of Florida. They have the lowest number of state government workers per capita and the lowest or second lowest state spending per capita of all 50 states. Canada could take some lessons from that, eh?
Or not.
And then Elon says in this clip, and we won't play the clip either, he says, fashion has been stuck since 2015. We need to change fashion. And I've got a different kind of fashion, so I don't know. I think it should be fitness fashion, and people should wear clothing. Because I lost, I think it was like 55 pounds since about, I think about 7-8 years now, and kept it off. And what I found is wearing tighter fitting clothing helped, because then you had to be more honest with yourself. Because I was wearing like Al Bundy off of, what was that show he had? Al Bundy with those couple of
Married with Children? Is that what
Married
it was
with
called?
Children, that's what it was, where he sat on the couch there with his fuzzy velour sweats. That, and you can just, eat all you want and expand yourself, expand new horizons. Tighter fitting clothing, fitness clothing. Yeah,
well, it was tight. It was tight clothes for a bit, but now the kids reliably and got to wear baggy clothes these days. It's all about the bagginess.
Fashion tights for men with the tech phones, like you put the phones in the side in the pocket, and that's like Star Trek. Like that's the future, right? Clothing like Star
It should
Trek.
be here, really. Yeah, badge.
That's your communicator.
Yeah.
There you go. And we do have one comedy piece left here for you. This is our comedy piece for Mark Carney when he was speaking at that press thing here. You're just going to a little bit of comedy here. A tone-deaf comedy, by the way.
There have been a few surprises during my first months as Prime Minister. For example, I hadn't expected to spend so much time dealing with wildlife. Belugas, ostriches, premiers, except for present company accepted, obviously. Actually, there is no need for a mass cull, because the premiers and I are uniting around projects that will diversify our trade, unlock billions in new investment, create hundreds of thousands of high-paying careers. Or as the National Post headline put it, Mark Carney fast-tracks the road to serfdom. I mean,
I just thought it was a little tone-deaf on the ostriches, because that group that was defending those ostriches is very motivated, and I just think that they didn't get much of an answer from the Carney Liberals. Obviously, they're aware of it, right? They're aware of it.
Exactly, that's the other
right
thing.
There. They didn't say nothing during the whole thing, and now it's clear that they're very much aware of what was going on, the pain and suffering that was caused to so many people, and if you had to give them a straight answer, that would help. So this shows they were aware of what was going on with the ostriches, and they chose not to talk about it. Same thing as Bill C-18. We know they're aware of what's going on with Bill C-18. We know they're aware that it's crushing and killing, crippling independent media outlets across Canada. Close to 100 have failed in the 2 years since they've introduced it. Stephen Guilbeault wouldn't answer Iain, wouldn't do an interview. You've sent that off to Mark Miller. How long ago has that been?
It was when he was sworn in.
And then
About an hour after he was sworn in. That's when I sent it. Still no response from our public servants.
I was going to ask you, when is that interview scheduled for?
It's scheduled for when I can run after Mark Miller in the street in Ottawa, and then he calls me a racist because he doesn't like to be asked questions by anyone, really, does he? That's just racist. Stop asking me questions.
So that's our show for today, and we thank you for watching. A little bit shorter. I was trying to be cognizant of Iain there suffering, and he suffered through it like a trooper. And again, when we have a budget that is about 1.55 billion short of CBC, we have to make do, right? Like the Canadian military, I remember the motto. I had friends in the military that said the Canadian military motto is, it's only temporary unless it works. Just play that one around in your head for a while. Yeah, we've neglected our military for a long time, and it's shameful. And now we're trying to put in like reservists and stuff like that. I mean, We got to do better than that. I remember my friends went to, I think it was a Haiti peacekeeping operation once, and the Canadians came in after the Americans were there. And they were getting off the plane, and they told me that as they were getting off the plane, the Americans had the security of the airport. And they were walking through, the Americans, they said, "Oh, good, the cooks are here."
Cheeky boys.
Well, there you go. And then they knew too when they were out there in the field, the Canadians. This goes way back. All these problems. The Canadians weren't given live ammunition in their guns, so they were out there doing security as well. And the American Marines are out there, and they have live ammunition in their guns. And they said that the Marines never got jostled, but then when they were out there, they would get pushed around, shoved, and because the people, the friendlies, knew that they didn't have live ammo, and so they asked for the money for the ammo, so they wouldn't get pushed around. And apparently, they were given a clip each. And the first thing is one of the Newfoundlanders went out there and had a bottle of Screech and emptied his clip into the sky, celebrating that they finally got bullets, and then says, "Give your bullets back." That's it.
Protect the seagulls.
And then the new general would have started crying and then apologizing and not resigning. There you go. That's our show. That's it. That's the comedy section of the show. I hope you laughed. Again, help us make a bigger impact and help us get this out there and outlining and showing some of the fraud, waste, and abuse to make Canada a better tomorrow for everybody, so that everybody can actually afford beef. So you don't have to look at the beef counter like it was a luxury item. I see families standing there at the beef counter looking at beef like it's like, oh, we're going to plan for maybe next month we can actually get some beef. That shouldn't happen in Canada. That is the responsibility of the people who've had the wheel for the last 10 years, NDP and Liberals. That's on you. You've done this. No matter how much you gaslight Canadians, it's on you. Thank you for watching Now Media. We're back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
The news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.